Welcome to another episode of She Conquers Dirt, a Bower Power Hour series. Charlene and I have a great guest for everyone today. Who do we have today, Charlene?
Yes, we do. Thanks, Avis. Please welcome Laura Butcher. I'm so excited to have her on today because she's going to share everything from her accomplishments associated with how to get into off-road racing and also how to keep our public lands open, which is really important at this point in time.
This is going to be really interesting. Be sure to subscribe, hit the thumbs up button, the like, all the ding bell things that will keep you up on what's happening here. And if you stay until the end, you can enter to win.
She Conquers Dirt features the stories of incredible off-road ladies associated with Ladies Off-Road Network. Bower Power Hour can be found on YouTube and your favorite podcast outlet. Now buckle up and let's roll.
All right, Laura, welcome. Thanks so much for being here with us today. Why don't you take a few minutes and tell us all about yourself?
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. It's going to be really fun. I have a kind of interesting, bumpy road of getting into the off-road industry full time, but originally I started out as a full-time firefighter paramedic. I'm retired from that, and in 2018, I had kind of a funny interaction with Dave Cole, who ended up giving me a race series that he had purchased a few years before that. And so I've been the owner and CEO of Valley Off-Road Racing Association since then. VORRA has been around since 1975, so it has a really long, rich legacy in the off-road world. And as that career kind of started to develop, I got into a few other aspects of off-road along the way, just kind of really rounding out whatever little bits of schedule that I might have had open are no longer open. So these days, I'm also the associate director for Nevada Off-Road Association, which is a 501(c)(3) nonprofit, and we do a lot of the land use issues surrounding public lands. I got into it particularly because of race permits, at least initially, and then really became passionate about land use in that regard. In addition to that, I'm the executive director of a nonprofit called Farmy Inc., and we are in process of building a 942-acre off-road park, which will have kind of a multi-use mixed venue for all different aspects of off-roading and OHV use, everything from like a motocross track to short course and rock crawling, everywhere here, there, and in between. Beyond that, I sit on the board of directors for a few different um, organizations. I'm really heavily involved with Chamber of Commerce and Rural Development as far as Travel Nevada, which is our state tourism board goes. What else am I forgetting? I'm sure there's other things. I'm a mom to a 9-year-old little girl and a wife, and I've got 2 dogs. So there you go. That's kind of the meat and potatoes of what I do.
I was going
Wow.
to
I
say there's
mean,
a lot of people that don't know everything that you got going on there. So I was
I'm
going to
sure
that is
not.
a
Yeah.
that is a lot. That is a lot. Yes, you
I
don't
guess
have free time.
I also seem to manage to fit in there a little bit of timing and scoring for other race series on contract. I help out with King of the Hammers on their government permits. I also help manage sponsorship stuff for a few other professional athletes and teams. So there you go. I forgot that bit.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Okay, that is a lot. That is a lot.
I know, I know.
How do you have a particular part of that that is your favorite or the most rewarding?
Oh man, that's a tough question. I honestly like it's all my favorite at different times. Any given day, I might be really frustrated with some aspect of things. Like, putting on races, I'm not gonna lie, is extremely stressful. And so that kind of, it takes its toll at times, but it's something I wouldn't change for the world. That's definitely, I feel like, something that was just kind of meant to be and happened because it was supposed to and led me to all these other really great things. I'm super passionate about land use these days as a result of that. So a lot of days I spend more time doing land use type things than I do off-road race promotions directly, but there's a pretty even split there, I would say overall.
Nice. Yeah, land use is a real hot topic issue, seemingly all the time. So we thank you for your work there for sure.
Bring us into your house for a second.
Okay, yeah, you're in my house right now. Literally, this is my home office, and you will see back here on the wall over here. I've got to like reverse myself. We've got this really cool like VORRA sign. We've got my emergency management diploma that I don't really use anymore, but at the same time, like putting on races is super relative to emergency management in a lot of ways people wouldn't expect. So it comes in handy all the time, all the time. I also have 2 Impact Awards up there from the Off-Road Motorsports Hall of Fame, and those are super special to me. They were both in the industry category, one in 2019 and one in 2024. And in 2024, I also won the People's Choice Award. And then I've also got an award from the BLM here in Nevada for partnership, and a board member of the year for my local chamber of commerce. I currently live in Reno, Nevada. And yeah, I have a great husband who is currently at his regular full-time job. He works at a Jeep dealership, Dodge Jeep dealership, as a service advisor. And I have a 9-year-old little girl named Grace who just had her first race this last year. So that's getting really exciting. She's really into off-road and has enjoyed it for many years, but finally got the race bug. We have an 8-month-old puppy that we adopted last May. She's a Belgian Malinois Dutch Shepherd mix, and she is incredible, so smart, but she will frequently like come just busting through the door because she's learned how to open doors. So she likes to frequent these visits in my office and pop on camera. But I'm hoping that my family can keep her entertained in the other room for now.
We like dogs, so no worries.
Yeah, that's all right.
I love it. I named her Moxie because I think that's just such a great word. I mean,
Mm.
the word Moxie is like, I don't know, it's everything. It's fiery and spunky and all the things I think she is. So there you go. That's my household.
All right, Laura, let's do our first full throttle favorite rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Yeah, I think.
You think
We'll
it's
see.
easy?
We'll
It's
see.
easy.
Throw them at me. I mean, I guess I'll answer.
There you go. What's the first car you ever had?
Oh, my first car was a 1986 Chevy Silverado. It was lifted, it had big tires. It did not work all that well otherwise, but it was great. I loved it so much, and it was definitely kind of like a trademark for me in high school. Everybody knew that big red truck.
Sweet. What's your favorite food?
I'm gonna say sushi, honestly. I'm a big fish person, seafood. I could eat fish every day.
Love it. What is your music of choice?
My music is all over the place. Alternative rock that's maybe a little on the vintage side these days because I'm not super young anymore. But I also really like classic rock, everything from like the 60s on. I've been known to listen to things a little bit more like hardcore rap and stuff. I'm actually not a huge country music fan, generally speaking. However, right now, my favorite artist is actually a country singer because I really like her name's Caitlin Butts. She has really witty lyrics, and I love it.
Hmm. Are you a prepper or a last minute doer?
Prepper, oh my gosh, everything is dialed so far in advance and to the millionth degree if possible.
Early morning or late night?
Early morning. Early morning, and everybody will laugh and make fun of me. I get up at 4 a.m. every day, so I'm like by 8, 9 p.m. There's not much going on behind my eyes. It's just vacant.
Hey, I know I don't even make it that late in the night, and I don't get up till 5.
It's my only chance to get things done.
Yeah,
Super.
we get up and go to the gym, so
That's what I do too.
yeah. It's good to start your day that way. It feels like you have so much of the day left when that's not hanging over your head, right?
Yeah, when I get home and my endorphins are going, I might as well be like superhuman. That's when I get everything
Right?
done.
Unload the dishwasher, start the laundry, make the bed, like do all the things all in the next 5 minutes.
Literally, though, you just called it all out. I come home and
Yeah.
I'm like, flight of the bumblebee around the house doing chores and getting
Yeah.
everything ready for the day.
I always try to judge people how old they are based on their vehicles, and I feel like we could be in the same age range based on your first vehicle, because it's usually a hand-me-down, and so I'm like,
Ugh.
"Okay. Alright, alright."
I begged for a Chevy Silverado. I wanted it to be like a 70s or 80s model. That was not like cool or hip or anything. That was just what I was like. I was after it. I wanted one of those bad. So I worked a
Yeah.
lot of after school jobs to make that happen.
So, how big were the tires back in the big tires?
We have to like reframe to like the early 2000s, right? Where big tires were not 40 inches. They were they were 33s were about like the coolest I could have conjured up at the time. I
No.
remember my truck had two gas tanks and they neither of them the gauges didn't work. So it was just like Russian roulette all the time of flipping to one gas tank or the other. Like what's gonna work today? I don't know. It was great.
Yeah. But
Oh
those
my
were also the
gosh.
days you could dig through the sofa for 50 cents, like, gas for
Yes.
days.
1000% yes. I literally used to dig change up for gas money sometimes. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, the good old
Just
days.
date myself.
I think they call it classic alternative music now that you were referring to
Yeah.
earlier.
So I was thinking about what is saved on my Sirius satellite radio, and I've got like, the pop hits as my honest number one station, but the number two is like I want to say it's an alt rock from the early 2000s. So
Yeah.
there you go. I've always been big on like Offspring and some of those, Beastie Boys, stuff like that. So
Mhm.
that's what I would say
Oh.
I'm looking at most of the time.
Awesome. Well, let's
Mhm.
roll into the off-road industry and how you got into it and all that kind of stuff. But you have a long history with VORRA. Like you brought up that all of a
I
sudden you
do.
became in charge. But let's roll it back, lady, and let's talk
All
about
right.
VORRA and what does it stand for? What is it, and how did you really get involved in it?
My first VORA race probably was in the late 90s. My older brother Mike used to race class 7. So I wanted to do everything he wanted to do. I wanted to be, I hero worshipped him like terribly. Probably just annoying as all get out because I was the youngest of my three siblings. So I never followed my sister around, but she was a lot older. So she was already gone, and my brother was just stuck with me and his friends. So that's how I started going to the races, and VORA was the like local series to the area that we're from. I grew up in Northern California, in a rural area until I was about 12, and then we moved to an even more rural area in Northern Nevada. So VORA is definitely big in both of those areas. Like I said, it started in 1975. It stands for Valley Off-Road Racing Association, and originally that meant the Sacramento Valley. That's where the original owners, Ed and Jenny Robinson, live. I'd been around Vora a really long time. My husband had been around it even longer. He started going to Vora races when he was like 5. So I was a little late to the party, by the time I was in high school. But every time the Vora race would be like in town, or sometimes we would go to Prairie City for short course races. And it was just fun. I just enjoyed never in a million billion years could you have convinced me that this is where things would have ended up. I had zero desire or interest in any of like the actual ownership and race promotion stuff. I just really liked going to the races. Off-roading in general was always really big in my family. Did a lot of camping and, that type of like my dad had a lot of friends with Jeeps and things like that. I was a very outdoorsy kid. So not a huge jump, but at the same time, I don't think if my brother had, been doing it, I probably wouldn't have fallen into that. But I did very much fall in love with it. And as time went on, Vora went through quite a few different owners. From the first owner, Ed Robinson, he sold it in 2000. And from then to when we acquired it in 2018, there was probably maybe 6 different owners. I should probably know that offhand. But the cool thing is that I'm still like, I would say friends with like I think all of the former owners. A lot of them still come to the races in some capacity. So we volunteered. My husband and I had lots of different volunteer roles through that course of time. So I felt like I was pretty well prepared, which was it's hysterical now looking back. Like I've co-drove with my brother. I've, been a pit medic a bunch. I've done all these different like volunteer things. That's what we call our volunteers as volunteers. I've done registration. I've helped with this, that, and the other thing. And so it's like, okay, like we totally know what we're getting ourselves into. We did not, in fact, know what we were getting ourselves into.
So tell us, like, what
Yeah.
did you get yourself into? What does being a race promoter mean?
So I remember coming home like being really excited. I had just originally been trying to like get the VORRA logo to make some old retro t-shirts, like do a reproduction of them, and caught Dave at the right time, and he was like, here you go. And actually Charlene was doing the live video on Facebook, and that's it all got caught on live at the Off-Road Motorsports Hall of Fame gala that year. So that was
It did.
interesting. Like what a weird world that we're here we are.
Here we are.
Being a race promoter, like it sounds, I think, a lot more glamorous than it is. I think that people think that you're making a lot of money and you're not ever. I don't know a single race promoter that is killing it in the financial way, but it's definitely like something that if you're not passionate about it, you're gonna give up. It's that hard. So it's taught me some really good lessons. There were some times where I, you know, I really thought like this is it. Our whole business is going to crumble. We're not going to get this permit. This race isn't going to happen or whatever. And it always works itself out. I would say I've always been a pretty resilient person. I've always found myself to be the underdog, but in spite of all the life lessons that I thought I had before this, being a race promoter has increased that quite a bit. So it's like sometimes you're just people's punching bag to some degree. Not everybody can get their way all the time. But on the flip side, you get some of the best thank yous that just really are just so heartwarming. And this last year, our daughter doing her first race was like such an incredible full circle moment that, I can't even really put words to that. It was amazing to watch her. She didn't even get to finish, honestly. Her car overheated, and she was like, it was my first race and my first recovery. And, like, so, it's a lot of life lessons all the way around, but you meet amazing people and you create these really great bonds. All of my friends that, volunteer with us, man, I don't know what I would do without them. They are just the
Yeah.
best people.
So as a promoter, you said the 6-letter curse word permit,
No.
which I
Oof.
think brings you into a
Oof.
whole nother chapter. I know, like as soon as
Boy,
I heard
does
that word, I just kind of started
it.
twitching just a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So let's go down that lane because I think that lane's going to bring up all these other
Yeah.
topics of what you're into at the moment. So talk to us
Yeah.
about really what it means to have a permit, really what it means to do it right.
You're going to put on an off-road race. Chances are, unless you are really fortunate and have like this giant piece of property that you can actually put a desert race on, but most people aren't that lucky. So a lot of it is using public lands, which is Forest Service or Bureau of Land Management. I forget oftentimes that like not everybody, especially countrywide, has like BLM like we do in the West Coast. So I take it for granted and I'm just like BLM, BLM. And it's like, oh, maybe I need to back up and say that's Bureau of Land Management. So we're really heavy in that type of public lands here in Nevada. Not as much in California, but I have actually, like I said, I'm currently working on King of the Hammer stuff, so still do dabble in California stuff quite a bit as well. But if you're gonna do a race, you're gonna need a permit, and that is a process. I don't even know. You're never gonna see the same thing twice. It is never easy. There's always like some weird thing that pops up, at least these days I feel like I've just embraced it to where it's like I just let it roll off of me. But that's definitely how I like fell into land use. So there was, I don't know, 2 or 3 years into when we started doing VOR races, we got kind of a series of permits that just sort of got like jammed up for one reason or another. And, some of it was pretty legitimate, like wildfires in the area or whatever, but I got pretty bold, I don't know, at just sort of arguing it back. My race permits, it feels like within like 2 weeks of a race, I call it like the Bermuda Triangle because something's going to go wrong. It's almost always in relation to a permit. And you just, you have the permit, and the next thing you know, they're like, hey, we're not going to have enough staff because there's this big fire in the area. And you're just like, oh my God, but I have all of these people already signed up. Like everybody's already paid their stuff and everybody's like depending on us. So there was probably like, I would say at least 4 races, not back to back because they're all spaced apart, but within the span of a year where it had continuous run-ins with the BLM. And every way it kept like coming to something new, but then I would, wiggle my way around it and pull off the race. But unfortunately, there was a newer staff member, a field office manager. And if you're familiar with the way BLM works, like each area is a field office, and then, they have kind of their own little structure within the state. Each little office is kind of their own little kingdom. That's, I think, the easiest way to describe it. So even though they're
Yep.
overseen by the state level, they still all kind of like have their own rules and how they want to do things, and it's very independent as well. So we had a
Which is
new
part of the
field.
ridiculousness of it.
It is,
Mm-hmm.
man, oh man, if I could like overhaul that whole thing from the national level down, which is, on my list of goals, right? Because once you get to the point where you're like, wow, this could be better. But I think that's kind of where, like I said, they gave me a partnership award last year, so we're getting somewhere. So there's this new field office manager, and we had 2 races in a row where I feel like, he was valid in his concerns, but at the same time, like I feel like he was just kind of trying to flex being the new guy. And these were permits that I already had in place, and both times it was like within 10 days of race, like, we're canceling your permit, you can't have this race. The one time they had forgotten about us and they had a grazing permit for a cattle rancher at the same time. And so it was like, no, you guys can't. And I'm like, no, I have to. So they gave me, it's always these extreme circumstances. It was like, well, if you can get here within 24 hours and meet with all of these people. Oh, and we need your tractor person and this and that and the other thing. So it's like I show up and I'm really good at making connections with people, and I always do my homework. So I had gotten the name of like this particular rancher ahead of time, and figured out that we did already kind of know each other because one of my part-time jobs in high school was riding pins at a feedlot. So I used to ride on horseback through the cow the cattle pens and pick out the sick cows. Well, this particular rancher, like he had cows at that feedlot. So, anyways, I was able to, pull off what they did not think was ever in the realm of possibilities of like actually making this relationship work between me and this rancher, and everything worked out just fine. So they had to kind of concede and give me my way. Well, then a couple months later, we had the next race. And again, about 10 days before the race, they said, you know what, we're going to have to cancel your permit. This time it was just that they didn't have a biologist at that time, like working. So they had a biologist teleworking from another office in another state. And I'm like, so you're telling me that we can't have this race that we already have a permit for because you have a biologist teleworking from another state, and they don't actually like have a solid reason. They're just not sure. They're just
Right.
not
And
sure if it's
yeah.
okay or if there's like a bird or a lizard or anything. Like they're just not sure. They were concerned about like different things, and I was just like, what am I even gonna do with this? Like this again, it felt like the end of the world, like total end of the world situation. I'm gonna be so humiliated. Our business is gonna fail. I can't financially withstand, this race to be canceled at this point. We're pot committed. So I had recently gotten to know a few people Matthew Giltner, who's the executive director of Nevada Off-Road Association that I work so super closely with now. At that time, I had just sort of recently met him and went to him and I was like, I need help. I need help. I don't know what to do in this situation. Like they're going to cancel this. And so NVORRA is what Nevada Off-Road Association goes by. I know it's confusing. VORRA and NVORA, whatever. It all rhymes with Laura, and that was all an accident. But whatever, I guess it makes it easy for people to remember. So I go to Matthew and NVORRA, and they help me a ton by finding a Forest Service biologist to provide like a secondary consult. And we do this huge economic analysis on the impact that the race is going to have in that community. We do all this stuff, and we go in, we have this meeting with the field office manager, the assistant field office manager, the rec planners, and the field office manager won't even open the packet that I put together, that I like painstakingly put together all of this information to like back up the fact that, you know, it was all going to be okay. There was this biologist with the Forest Service has like verified everything. I've got letters of recommendation, one of which came from Tread Lightly, which also had its own funny twist to it because that I ended up working for Tread Lightly full time after this. The guy wouldn't even open the packet. So it just, I was like dumbfounded as to what do I do now? Like I can't even get this person to look me in the eyes. I can't this is for sure a disaster. But I told him like to his face, I'm just kind of like, well, if you're not gonna look at this, I have no choice but to go to your boss. If I've learned one thing with BLM, it's like you just keep going up the chain, right? So I'm like, do you want to talk to your boss or do you want me to? Like, and he's like, no, no, you don't get to talk to anyone above me until I have a chance to brief them on things. And so I remember saying like, okay, I am going to leave this meeting and I'm going to go call, you know, this senator, this representative. And I had specifically mentioned that I knew several of these politicians, at least one of them was a family friend of mine that represented that particular area in Nevada. That was her district. And I mean they definitely flat out said later they didn't believe me. They thought I was bluffing. So, you know, I leave the meeting and I go out, don't even leave the parking lot. I just sit in my car and I start making phone calls. And then I would say within an hour and a half to 3 hours, their decision was overturned and it was quite controversial. But we did get to have our race and everything was fine. Everything went really well. That particular field office manager never spoke to me again. And then I'm told he relocated to Alaska. So,
I really appreciate those two stories that you told, Laura, because so many people don't understand one, the issues that are going on in the background in order to pull off a race or pull off an event, and
oh
then
my God.
two, like the resilience that it takes in order for somebody to actually be
Yeah.
successful at throwing that green flag. And when, as a race promoter, is sitting there saying, hey, we have these challenges, or hey, we need you to do this, or we need you to do that.
Yeah.
Like there's so many things in the background that really matter. But let's talk about something fun about racing. So,
Yeah,
have
absolutely.
you ever raced? Are you a racer? Do you put a helmet on? What are we doing here, girl?
So yes, I have definitely raced before. Like I said, I co-drove with my brother a few times in class 7. I've also done a couple of powder puff races here and there. I did the Rebel Rally twice, and I know you're both familiar with that too. So I don't do a ton of it these days. I just don't ever seem to have time. My husband likes to do like one, he still has a class 9, so he'll do like one race a year. Just because we do still like to go to other races and have fun, but it doesn't, we usually just don't have time for it. But I certainly have in the past, and I feel like that is also an extremely good like frame of reference and thing to keep in mind when you're putting on races is like what it feels like to be coming from that side too. So, and
Right.
that really is the fun part.
It is the fun part.
Yeah.
All that business behind it and that 6-letter word permit that has to go
Right.
into it.
No,
Awesome.
thank you. Okay, let's do our second set of full throttle favorite rapid fire questions. Laura, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. What instantly stresses you out in a race?
Bad behavior by racers these days. Anything that I feel like this is against the rules. What are you doing? I would say that probably gets my blood pressure up more than anything.
One word that describes your driving style.
I feel like I'm a pretty proficient driver. I have a lot of years of like EVOC training and stuff like behind me from the fire department point of view. I always felt like, well, if the government trusts me to drive these big pieces of equipment, which in reality is probably not the best like gauge for that, but I feel like I mean, I'm pretty good at it. What can I say?
Sweet.
Everybody thinks they're a good driver, right?
Yeah. Do you have a pre-race ritual?
Yes. You guys asked me earlier about like if I was a last minute person or a prepared person. The last couple times, like I did the Rebel Rally, I had laminated checklists for both morning and night to go over everything. I would say, like, I
Wow.
mean, everybody's got like their, kind of funny little rituals of like how they like to prep their stuff, but I would say mine is just thorough, very thorough.
If you could design any part with no budget limits, what would it be?
I was thinking about like all the cool stuff that Total Chaos Fabrication does and kind of that like long travel and all the suspension stuff. If you could, truly turn a vehicle into like that magic carpet ride that everybody always talks about, like that would be awesome. And if it never breaks, I mean, which not that I don't think I have ever had anything Total Chaos of mine break, but yeah, something indestructible but also that just makes it kind of have that fun floating independent suspension.
What would you want to race against in your 3 vehicle race? Oh, sorry,
Right.
not what. Who? Who would you
Oh,
want to race
who would
against?
I want to race
That
against?
makes
Oh
more
my
sense. Yeah.
gosh. Ivan Stewart, Rod Hall, and I'm gonna actually throw in a wild card there. I mean, in my opinion, my brother. I'll bring that back if he was still alive.
There you go.
Love it. It just makes me giggle though that you have a laminated sheet that you're like prepped for because
I was
that
just
is
thinking
so Laura.
they're like up here in my bookcase, I think somewhere, but they're like they're like a binder ring of like just flip sheets and they're all laminated. And there's just like I said, there's a morning one and a night one, and it's like all the things that, need to be checked and done. And, you know, yeah, that is so Laura.
I mean, I love it because you just got to be prepared, right?
Always.
What is your proudest hell yeah moment in this industry? Like, did it.
Oh man. I there's so many really cool ones that are these really surreal moments. But I would say last year, like getting the honor of the industry award at Ormhoff at the Off-Road Motorsports Hall of Fame. And then on top of that, getting the People's Choice vote off of it. They narrow it down to 3 people. And I was up against Jose G from Score. So I like, yeah, of course, like, duh, he's gonna get it. Like, would it not even a question, didn't even remotely prepare a speech or anything, because why would I
We
do
never
that?
give ourselves enough credit. We never give ourselves enough credit.
That was a really surreal, like, how does everybody even know who I am? That was a really interesting moment, and I'm super grateful to have even, I feel like, gotten to that level. Because if you'd have told me that, at literally any point in time, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, shoot, 5 years ago, I probably wouldn't have believed you. So, really cool.
Wow, I'm thinking to myself, how
Awesome.
do people not know you? Because the list of things that you're involved in is like Santa's list long. So,
Santa's list long. Oh
yeah,
goodness.
It is,
That's a new
yeah.
one. I like it. I think that one's gonna stick, Avis.
Santa's list long. Yeah. I mean,
Right.
the things that you do, not only to support like the general public in your BLM stuff, but like just for racers and stuff like that, like it's amazing. So,
Well,
got to
thank
pat yourself
you.
on the back a little bit there. Of course,
I feel
people
like,
know who you are, Laura.
well, yeah, but I mean, like, they're not big shiny things. They're like, behind the scenes stuff. It's not like I'm not Sarah Price. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like a big forward facing thing. But I am very honored that I've gotten to the point where there's some level of name recognition. But yeah, I guess it comes with like just being able to juggle that many things.
Okay, so now I'm gonna do the real flip flop here. So we went from the high. Now let's go to the low. What's one of those moments where
Mm.
you look back and it's like, yep, that was a lesson I had to learn. Like that was a low
Oh.
moment.
Mhm.
I feel like there's so many of those. Oh gosh. Um,
If we do enough things, right, there should be plenty of those because those are the learning
yeah,
experiences.
those are for sure the learning experiences. I'm trying to narrow it down, to be honest, because I feel like there's just always something.
Is there
This
one that somebody else could learn the most from? Like, take it from me so you don't have to learn it yourself.
there are times as a race promoter owning a business, you have to make decisions and they're not fun, and you know you're not going to be everybody's favorite. Sometimes it's not even really easy to figure out what the right thing to do is. I feel like the older you get and the more responsibility you carry, it becomes more and more unclear what the right thing to do is sometimes. And that's generally like that, that's what I'm always looking for. What's the right thing to do? That's not always a fun, easy thing. Um, so this last year actually was a really difficult one with having to endure the trials and tribulations of disqualifying people, or in one case, like actually banning someone from the series that we considered to be a friend. And that you don't want to make those calls, but again, you're trying to do what's going to be the safe thing, the right thing, the most fair thing for everybody. And you always have to maintain a level of detachment. There is no room for extra feelings and emotions, unfortunately, in some of those spaces. Facts are always going to come above feelings. And I think probably my husband especially would say that that is something that is really annoying to him, that I'm always that person that's like, nope, that's not the, we go with the facts. So we had a lot of situations this last year that were just really like, you struggled with them on deep levels. So always try to find the right thing, whatever that is. It's not always easy to figure out, but the fair thing and the safe thing, go with that.
I mean, I think as a I'm not a race promoter, but as a race promoter in particular, you got to wear multiple hats, right? There's the friendship hat and then there's the safety hat. So
Yeah,
it's
it's a
just
tough.
business. It's not personal, right? So, but
No.
yeah.
No, but people do. They tend to want to make it personal. They lash out. This last year was really interesting with I would say both a level of notoriety that I've gotten to on social media or getting recognized out in public, which on the surface level I guess would seem really cool. There's also the flip side to that, where when people aren't happy and they want to take it out on you on a public forum, you've got to be able to take it. You just, it is what it is, and they're not always gonna have, people aren't gonna have the full story. And you just hope that if they respect you and they trust you, then they need to know that it's okay for them to not have the full story, and they need to just trust your judgment, whether they like it or not.
That's a great topic. Social media has really given people, back in the day we always called it keyboard warriors in the in
Yeah.
the forum side, right? But still, honestly, like we have that in the social media side where we have these keyboard warriors and they're attacking people for them not really even understanding the full picture of why a decision was made in order to be
Right.
successful for the bigger picture. Um, it takes
It's really
it takes
hard.
some thick skin. It takes some really really thick skin.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's hard to read things about yourself that people are saying and they're not true, but there's really no point in even trying to defend yourself. It's only going to make it worse. So really just kind of like taking your lumps, having thick skin, turning the other way, like it's just part of the deal. It's not a fun portion of it, but like I said, you just have to power through and do the right thing and have faith that people will trust you.
So you have a lot of new racers that come through the VORRA series. It's kind of a grassroots series,
We
and you
do.
can take this question however you want between it either being for the racers or for industry folks, whatever. But what's advice that you usually give to somebody that's coming into the scene, into the either racing scene or land use scene or industry scene? Like you can take it how you want. What works best for you?
We do get a lot of new racers. I would say that's always what I kind of tell people about VORRA is we're like particularly geared towards like the place where people start. We have a lot of youth racers and um, yeah, I obviously have a lot of dealings with volunteers every which direction, especially in land use and stuff. When people are starting out, I'm trying to think what advice I would give them is actually like volunteering. If they're looking to get their foot in the door, I would say like oftentimes I've got people that come to me and they want to race, they're interested in it. Even just this last week, I actually had somebody ask me, um, they've never raced before, they want to, and they're like, what do I buy? What do I do? And a lot of times I'm like, well, I'm super excited that you want to do this, but I'm also going to say, slow your roll for a second and let's find a team for you to volunteer with for a season or something. Like let's get you in with another group that's already in this space so that you can learn some of the things. And I would say that's true for all aspects of off-road, like trail etiquette and stuff. A lot of times it's like unspoken knowledge. There's no written rules, but it's just all of that really important knowledge that gets passed from one generation to the next, and you just kind of have to absorb it. So
Yeah.
volunteering is really a good way to do that.
Yeah. And asking questions. I mean, we hear people say that all the time. Ask questions because I
Yeah.
mean, especially as women or I mean, just really anybody, but if you ask questions, most people they love to talk about stuff that they're doing, right? So,
Yes, they do. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Not being shy about asking questions is tough for people, but also really important.
What is your next goal, Laura?
Oh, this is a good question. It's a hard question, but a good question. So I would say right now, I am hot after it on finishing this off-road park. I have been working on this project for the last 3 years. My little hometown, Yerington, Nevada, the city had come to me a few years ago. This is an area we already kind of passed through during desert races, and they got this piece of property in a land trade with a mine years and years ago. Can't do anything with it. They're like, "Do you want to do something with it?" Absolutely, yes, I do. So, came up with this whole big concept and went out and got my first round of grant funding, which was an interesting learning process as well. Very humbling if you've never applied for grants before and you don't know what you're doing. But that's really been the thing is for the last 3 years, I've been absolutely just learning as I go, like literally putting the plane together as I'm flying it. And I am so ready to like really see that particular project through. The grant funding that I initially got runs out at the end of next month, and I was really wanting to make sure that it all got spent out, and it did. We're well underway with civil engineering and emergency planning and all the things that everybody's like, when is this going to be done, Laura? What's taking so long? And I'm like, oh, well, things that I didn't know existed before, but I do
Right.
now.
It's like when
So
you're
I,
building a house, the parts you can't see, that's what's happening now, but they're very
yes.
important to the final structure. Yes.
Exactly. I don't want to get halfway through something and be like, "Oh shoot, we didn't really think that through. Now we've got to undo all of this other stuff." As per usual, I'm very thorough and like, painstakingly probably I know it's annoying to a few people that are like, "Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's start building." And I'm like, "Wait, we have to make sure that the entrance route is going to be sustainable for like all types of vehicles and da, da, da. We have to give drainage so that it doesn't flood out every year and all this really not fun stuff." But I'm almost done with that portion of things, and I'm so excited to have that project completed. Someday there will be a very big, very cool off-road park for everyone to enjoy.
So
Actually, it already
exciting.
That's
exists.
awesome.
It's just not like built up yet. You can go use it
Yeah.
anytime you want, but the short course track and motocross track and all of that stuff I'm really excited about.
That's awesome. I'm super proud of you. That's hard.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
hard. Is there a date, like a calendar date you could put out there?
So we technically already had like the grand opening because the area is already being used for races and recreational and stuff. You can go to this area anytime you want. Like I said, it's just outside of Urington, Nevada. I've got signs and stuff that'll be going up here very soon. I've got my plans from the civil engineers that I'm going to put in a kiosk up there so people can actually kind of see how things are drawn out in live time. But I would say that I feel like I've said this the last few years, so now I'm just really hesitant to put it out there. But by the end of next year, I really want to like pretty well have this thing licked. Like I want it to be something where those tracks are in place, and right now it's really cool land that you can go right around on, but I want it to be like purposeful. So
Sorry about the deep breath that you're probably going to edit out, but I felt every part of that where you're like, oh my gosh, this year and hopefully next year, by the end of next year, I'm like, oh, I've
yeah,
been in those projects
I've
before where they're just overlaning and taking forever. But
I had
it's again back to
no
that word
idea.
resilient, right? Being resilient, being on top of it, and
I
just
mean, I
being
know
on point.
nothing about civil engineering, nothing. And so, like, I get myself into this project, and of course, like, it's extra complicated because the area used to be a mine, and then you've got one small chunk of it that's about 60 acres of the 942 that actually used to be a landfill. So it's like all of these really complicated things to try and navigate with civil engineering and stuff that I'm just like, oh my gosh, it can't possibly. But I am super determined right now.
Good. Let's walk into our next set of questions. You ready?
Okay, let's do our final full throttle favorite rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, what race is still on your bucket list?
I've been to the Baja 1000 about, a million times, but I actually really want to race it.
Oh,
That
sweet.
100%.
Co-driver trait you value the most?
Oh man, my best friend Erica Sachs, well, Erica Seidman these days, but everybody still knows her as Erica Sachs. Everything about her, everything. She's amazing. She's such a good navigator. I like I can't even, not only do we have just a really good time together, but she's so smart and so good at what she does. So I can't even begin to list her traits. But one of my favorites, I would say, is just like her very calm, like, no, this is what you're going to do kind of demeanor.
What is your secret superpower on the track?
I would say annoyingly just for like I said, I always think of BJ, my husband BJ. He gets so irritated of like how like not emotional I am. I'm just like I've just very, I wouldn't say flat, but you're just not gonna rattle me. There's been too many things in my life already. You're not gonna rattle me. It's not gonna, whatever happens, I'll figure it out. I always do.
What is the best advice you've ever gotten?
This is one of those things I contemplate frequently. My brother used to say, "Prep your shit" all the time. But I feel like that's actually a pretty good one for like all aspects of life. It's not very long. It's not very like big insightful quote off of somebody, and I feel like that's a very useful in all off-road things. Just prep your shit.
If your racing career had a theme song, what would it be?
Yeah. Okay. You're gonna be like, what? Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap by AC/DC.
Oh, okay. I like it. What
I
what
love
is
I
it.
have said that for years.
I can buy that. What is the next skill you want to master?
Mm, I would like to probably work on what I call my helium hand, where, like people are like, hey, does anybody want to take this on? And I'm like,
You're gonna stop doing that?
I mean, I feel like it's got its goods and its bads. It's gotten me to where I am today. Obviously, like just say yes, just do it, just take the chance, whatever. It'll all work
Yeah.
out. But at the same time, like I know I need to like focus. Like maybe just like this off-road park thing, like I've got to get that done before I take on more things. So that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Is there anything the listeners can do to help in that off-road park? Do you need volunteers, or is there any way people can help?
I'm sure I will need volunteers soon. Once I get to
Okay.
like the more interactive phases of construction and stuff. Right now,
Mhm.
absolutely like support. You can follow along online. I've been pretty quiet about it while I've been trying to get through like the ins and outs of grant funding with the state, but got a lot of big updates coming up, and I'd say it's a nonprofit. So there's always gaps in grant funding and stuff. Nevada Off-Road Association as well, nonprofit. So any type of support, if there's anything volunteer wise or financial support or anything like that, we're always happy to have help along the way. I want to get the project done. Yeah, whatever that looks like. I know it'll be more grant funding, but that doesn't always cover everything either. So that's been interesting.
All right, Laura, let's start our wrap up progress. We're going to get into our nightcap. Do you like, what is your routine for the day for like shutting off your brain, and what does that look
Mm,
like? With
probably
all the
not
things
as
going on in there, how do you turn that off at night?
This is something I truly suck at. I'm just going to be honest. Like, I'm really, really bad at this portion of things. I have terrible insomnia. I very rarely make it through the whole night. Um, it usually requires some sort of assistance by chemistry, some
Okay.
melatonin, or like I'm not great at winding down. I'm not great. I try to brain dump everything. I like wander around and talk into my phone a lot, making notes for myself. So I try to do that in the evening, especially just to I have so many to-do lists and so many alarms. So I'll go in and set like 9 million alarms for the next day and try to ease my mind by knowing I'm really prepared. I have as many
Oh,
things already set before they happen.
you really are a prepper.
Yeah, it just kind of, I think it's like the emergency management side of things. Like I just kind of developed that as like, if you reset the ambulance or the fire truck or whatever, you restock after a call, and that like chances are later on, if you get a really gnarly call, you don't want to look for the tape. You want to know exactly where the tape is. You want it
Yeah.
pre-cut into the strip size that you want and hanging off of a bar that you can reach up and grab without thinking or looking. So that sort of, I feel like, bled over into everything else in life. um yeah, I feel like I tease my mom all the time about like having OCD, but let's be real, it's probably genetic, and I probably have it too.
OCD, ADD, OCHD.
Oh, for
So
sure I have
we were talking
ADHD.
about we were talking about to-do lists, and like how do you manage your to-do list? How so that you can get it out of your brain and you can be successful at it.
I so I am so ridiculous. Like, it's in my phone, but I also have like literally like right here. Here's my day planner. It goes
Mhm.
everywhere with me all the time because that's where I like take notes during meetings and stuff. So it's got like all of my day's schedule lined out, every single thing. Dropping my daughter off at school in the morning, going to the gym, like everything is in more than one place just in case. That way I have double confirmation because, like, literally, I'm just so annoying. But then I also jot notes down and stuff throughout the day and just try and keep everything organized in my brain. But ultimately, like, I really do. I have terrible ADHD, and it is just like forever chaos. Like, it's all just jumbled up and coming and going, and I don't know. It's a
I
mess.
love
So
it.
everything else has to be organized.
All right. Any last words? Anything we didn't cover that you want the listeners to know about you?
Well, thank you guys so much. First of all, yeah, it was great to be on. I'm super honored that you guys chose me to have and talk to. I love being in the off road industry. I love motorsports. There's nothing else I'd rather do. If there's anything I can do to help someone, um, reach out to me. God knows there's so many ways you can get a hold of me, whether it's like my personal social media accounts or any one of my businesses. Feel free to ask questions or tell me you need help with something, and I will absolutely do whatever I can to help you out.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate you sharing your time with us today and all of your wisdom.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Laura. Make sure everybody, if you subscribe, give us a thumbs up. Enter to win now at sheconquersdirt.com/win and grab more perspectives from other amazing ladies at She Conquers Dirt, a series by Bower Power Hour. We'll see you all next time.
Get an entry into our week of giving by watching. 1 entry per episode, must complete the form and click submit. Check out this next episode. It's pretty exciting too.